23,000 collisions
Wow.
attributable to distracted driving. So that's why we're doing this. 40% of the collisions that take place are attributable to distracted driving, and speeding is the number one cause for collisions today. But distracted driving is rapidly catching up to that. So much like, you think back when the seatbelts were introduced, how it required a culture change. Kids smoking, or parents smoking in the car when the kids are in the backseat. I grew up, my dad smoked, and I remember the window was rolled down just about an inch, and that was good enough.
Yeah.
But today, you see somebody smoking in a car with a kid in the backseat. It's not acceptable anymore. So drinking and driving, the same thing.
Yeah.
So those are the type of culture and behavior changes that we're trying to introduce for drivers with the Leave the Phone Alone campaign. And it's not just about putting pressure on the drivers. It's putting pressure on and an onus on the passengers and the kids that are sitting back in the back seat, so that when they see mom or dad on the phone and they're driving, tell them, put the phone, focus on driving.
And I mean, there's enough hands-free devices out there that people can get if they really need to be on their phone. It's not too hard to get one of these devices.
If they really need to, what we're saying is put the phone away, leave it alone, and focus on the driving. And if you need it, pull over and have the conversation or do that text.
Mm-hmm.
A normal driver, it takes them 1.5 seconds to react to a situation. If you're distracted, that doubles 3 seconds. And it only takes a split second for a collision and for death to happen.
And like we said, with our weather in the city,
well,
that's got a triple after that, right?
Absolutely.
So.
You add the type of conditions that we face, black ice, just snow, it certainly adds to that. So more attention needs to be focused on the actual driving.
And the fine is $600 now?
No, the fine is $280 right now. But the other thing is you don't lose any points or gain points, actually, with this type of offense. So that's something that we're advocating, policing leaders in Ontario, so that you do.
I have
get
no idea
points.
how that would not be an insurable fine if they find you on that. That should knock back insurance, because insurance should be more increased, because right there you prove you're a riskier driver. Isn't that basically part of an algorithm? I don't know.
Yeah, so we're advocating for the province to change the Highway Traffic Act to.
I know that campaign's been working, because everybody I've been around is making use of that. Leave the phone, just stop texting.
Yeah, and I'll give you some thumb guards there.
Yes,
that's a good idea.
I can hand some out of that conference a little later. That's a good idea. And Andrew, you had a question.
Oh, with the I was going to pull back to something else. So I wanted to ask about the guns and gangs. You had mentioned that was a big priority for you. With the growth of our city, I might be ignorant to this fact, but has gang violence or gang activity risen in our city? Has it declined? Compared to other big cities, do we have a lot of gang violence? Or
so we have gangs in our city. And I think you go back to that initial question: how has the city changed from when I grew up here? And I think as a society, young kids are more prevalent to use violence more rapidly, and different types of violence. In the schoolyard, used to be a fist fight. Now it's either pulling out knives or guns.
In a fight in high school.
Well, if you look at the any fight or bars and those types of things,
that's right.
You've gone from fist fights to knives to guns. So that's evolved, not just in Ottawa, but everywhere as a society. But there's no question, the prevalence of gangs in our community has grown, because we are, we're nearly 1 million people in population. And it's hard to compare compared to other cities.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Toronto. It's not Edmonton's got some
former
I always heard Winnipeg was bad.
Winnipeg's bad as well. So. But the measure I use is what is the community saying and what are our officers saying, and we've had the same number of shootings we had last year so far. That's a concern to me. What's a concern to me as well is the brazenness of the shootings. They're taking place. We had one on Elgin Street. We had one in a shopping mall. We had one at 4:00 in the afternoon in a residential area. So those are the types of things that are of concern to us. And but that's why you go back to one of our priorities is around the guns and gangs, and not only from an enforcement perspective and arresting and charging and holding these individuals accountable, which we have been successful, but also from the preventative piece is what can we do as a community to what strategies can we do to try to prevent kids from going into gangs, and what can we do to help them get out of gangs as well. So, one of the things that we did in Ottawa here is we never had a gang strategy. We never had a comprehensive gang strategy around how do we deal with all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So now, working with the police service and other partners, Crime Prevention Ottawa, we have a gang strategy in Ottawa, and it involves many different partners. And we're at the table, and we're dealing with our share as far as suppression, enforcement, and also education and going into the schools. And other community partners have different parts of the strategy.
Wow.
Is it easier for, besides the knives, I'm sure it's pretty easy to get knives, but is it easier nowadays to get guns than it was back in the day?
I'd say it's easier now to get a gun, and the challenge we have is where they're sourced from is the states. So they're coming in from the states because of the different laws that they have in the states.
Yeah, obviously they're a lot more lenient than we are.
Yeah, and so they flood the market, the Canadian market. So it is easier today. So not everybody can get a gun. You got to know where to go. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
But if you want a gun and you're connected to that environment, and you're working in the organized crime area and gangs, you can get a gun easier than you could.
So we got to block off those. Work on that.
Another thing that I noticed in my in my business, being in real estate, grow operations and meth labs and things like that. Are we still seeing a high concentration of that in the city, or has I know that it's been targeted quite a bit now, and we've seen some great results. Has the numbers decreased significantly in that, or?
Yeah. I'd say meth labs are not. They're far and few between.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of meth labs, nothing too complex.
Hopefully that phase is passed with kids.
Yeah, and they've been in industrial complexes where we found, but the numbers aren't great. There have been certainly more grow operations, but we've seen that decline a bit as well. And where we're seeing those in residential areas, and in the real estate market, the challenges around, once you have a grow up in a house, the damage it does to the house and the re-medication that you need to do in order to get it back up to proper.
Well, that's it, and to be able to ever get a mortgage again on that house.
Yeah,
I know I've seen houses that have flood damage where there's significant more damage to a home there, and you can sell that easier than a home that doesn't have any damage but was a grow house.
Yeah.
So it does get kind of tricky in that way.
People coming back.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. The numbers are decreasing. So
I just have two quick questions. Around technology. Are we going more of a route with? Do you see open data being used with police information so you can strategize to become safer? Are you already using a lot of data, and you have statisticians that are trying to place certain officers at different times?
We are one of the organizations that collects a lot of data.
Yeah.
And so we use a lot from a crime analysis perspective and trying to move towards more of a predictive policing model.
Exactly.
So that we can predict where crime will happen and deploy the resources in order to deal with that stuff. That's the model we're moving towards. Our systems are sophisticated. However, the ability for those different systems to talk to each other, they're still in the 90s. So we've just mapped out our IT strategy for the next 10 years, which will take us to the next level around policing systems and our ability to have our different, from an analytics perspective, be able to talk a lot more and be a lot more sophisticated in the predictive model of policing. And we're seen as one of the leaders in Canada around moving towards that type of platform.
That's great.
Wow, that's
technology does play a part. I know last year around the holiday time, obviously there's a lot of ride programs and stuff, and there was one big complaint that people were going on social media, and they would put on Twitter or something, ride program at this address or in this location, and it kind of counterproductive for what's trying to be done, right? So,
technology has certainly been a great friend to us. In many aspects, but it's also been a very significant challenge because now, you arrest somebody for doing let's say a robbery and they have a cell phone. We're going to seize that robbery, that cell phone. We're also going to get a warrant to look at what's on that phone because it's amazing people will brag about on their cell phone.
Yeah.
Friends in a text around, hey, I just did this, or I took a picture of that. So it's become more complex as far as investigations because you're layering on now that technology piece.
You almost need a whole other department in the police force just solely for. Oh yeah,
we do. We have a high tech crime unit that deals with child porn and the ravaging impacts of that.
Yeah.
But also all of the other aspects of technology around.
I hear things like bullying through Facebook, things like that.
Sexting now, as far as people. They think that they can use Snapchat and just send a picture of themselves to somebody else. Well, there's a way you can capture that. So they don't recognize what they do from a technology perspective, what the impact is.
Are there major global conferences that you attend as the chief of police for Capital City to meet with the other mayors to discuss this sort of thing and to see where the future of policing is going?
So I'm a member of the International Association of Chiefs of Police, and we have an annual conference. Also a member of the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police and the Ontario Chiefs. So we have regular meetings and conferences that talk about these issues, and we also have our senior management team and our members are also engaged in a lot of the committees. So we're constantly sending our people to training into conferences so they can keep up with the changing technology and the impact.
A lot different than your father-in-law's. Chief of Police. Two different jobs.
It is. Yeah.
But does he still give you mentor and advice? Do you still ask some of it? That's wonderful.
He's been a tremendous mentor to me.
And
to many.
Yeah, I guess we'll just leave it at that. And thanks for all your
thanks a lot for your time.
services and your help and a wonderful response from everyone on I know the attacks a few weeks ago, the unfortunate attacks. And
very sad, but very proud of the women and men of the police service and how they responded and the community as well, the support.
I think we handled that quite well for a city that doesn't face a lot of challenges like that. It was handled very well. So.
And the fact that a lot of people had the confidence, and you don't when there's so many different reports going out there, that they have the confidence in a competent police force.
Yeah.
That they shouldn't be worried that it is going to be handled in a good way is the best thing. So
it's nice to know that if things like that happen, that we're ready, and the training that we give our members does pay off, and they do a tremendous job.
And an excellent
That's
chief.
Great.
Excellent. So we'll just go through a couple events for this week. Do you have any events? Any special? There's a police gala coming up.
No, we've had this week. It's the Violence Against Women, so a lot of events are taking place in our community around banding together and helping end violence.
Manifest change, and we're going to have the thumb thing. So other events going on this weekend very quickly. It's the second annual Movember calendar. It's the end of November coming up.
I didn't notice a lot of people this year. I don't know if I didn't notice them as much as last year or the year before.
But I think you are right.
A couple of less mustaches.
I think you're right. I think, you had the ALS campaign. There was a lot more. I think this year, especially with Ottawa growing, we are supporting more. There's more and more events in the city. I think you've noticed that in the past even 2 years.
Yeah.
Events in the city that you're being invited to.
Yeah. There's lots of needs in the community. Yeah.
Lots of needs in the community. So maybe the Movember money went towards ALS or another fund. So there's always things like that. You have Grinder Comedy at the Daily Grind on Friday night, Cafe My House, and 5th year anniversary party Saturday at 7 p.m. Robbie's having a sticker show at the Fall Down Gallery. That's going to be interesting. A lot of good artists making their own sticker. I know you're going to Lagwagon Saturday night.
Runners on Saturday night.
Mally's going to get a night out.
Yeah.
The Hindenburg Happening is having a singer-songwriter circle at the Record Center.
Yeah.
There's a Barnyard Bazaar at the Canada Agricultural Food Museum.
There you go. If you got a sweet tooth today, go by Auntie Lou's Treats. It's her whole holiday open house.
That's at 5 p.m.
5 to 7.
And we're hearing this tomorrow.
Yeah, it's Wednesday today. Oh, well, you missed it.
And I'm going to be there as well. But anyways, we're going to get to one last song from Emmas Ringer, and we'll see you back next week for episode 98. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks so much, Chief.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3.